Hello all, I'm Scarp SES, but that's not important right now, as in this episode of Cogs, Gears and Optic Sensors, we are looking through Transformers number 10 from the August of 1985, written by Bob Budiansky and with art by Ricardo Villamonte, who's best known for his work inking Power Man and Iron Fist for Marvel Comics. This issue's titled The Next Best Thing to Being There and is a reference to the long-running adverts by the Bell Telephone Company. Budiansky, though, wastes no time in bringing us back into continuity, with Shockwave still controlling both GB Blackrock's aerospace plant and the severed head of the Autobot leader Optimus Prime, as the human workers endeavour to meet the demands of the Decepticons. As Shockwave goes into full-on supervillain exposition mode,
Oh, you're a villain, all right. Just not a super one.
Yeah? What's the difference?
Presentation!
bringing any new readers into the fold by setting out his plan for infusing the brain modules with the energy from the creation matrix, a quick flip of the page sees the manufacturing process well underway, with Scavenger's head sculpt being clear for all to see in the last panel, as the human characters lament the lack of health and safety legislation under their new management. Now, we don't get a big info dump introduction here in the same way we did in issue number 1. But we do get name drops for all of the Constructicons, and Scavenger speaks up to accept orders from his new commander, perhaps in lieu of Scrapper, who'd I always perceived to be the team leader, as Optimus looks on helplessly. Back at the Ark, though, Prowl is making good on the deal Jazz recently stuck with GB Blackrock and is bringing him fully up to speed on the Autobots' current status quo. And we get a little panel here of Bluestreak and Brawn making repairs to the Ark, with Bluestreak well and truly giving IDW's Overlord a run for his money in the pout department, as not Tony Stark mulls over using Cybertronian tech to crush the competition, but does wonder about the impact on humankind if he does so. Which Prowl concurs with, albeit only being able to speak for the Autobots and certainly not the Decepticons. He then reunites Blackrock with Jazz, as the former is wowed by the Transformers' ability to repair themselves. Even Jazz has to admit that poor Sunstreaker may never get back online due to the injuries he suffered at the hands of Shockwave in issue 5, showcasing that even Transformers aren't immortal, and of course Huffer is leaning well into his bio and his role as a homesick engineer as he works on a way to communicate with Cybertron. Blackrock is also understandably curious about the headless body of Optimus Prime, which us UK fans had already seen in the Ark in the Wrath of Grimlock storyline, really showcasing those efforts made by Furman to tie the two titles together early doors. And as Blackrock suddenly remembers he can listen into everything going on at the plant by means of a convenient plot device, they are interrupted as Bumblebee contacts the base to update them on the watchful eye he's keeping over the aerospace plant, which, in this instance, is Laserbeak attacking the military personnel to mask the exit of the newly formed Constructicons, who Prowl tasks our intrepid Autobot spy with following, so he and the rest of the Autobots can deploy from the Ark and follow them. Back inside the plant itself, though, we get our first glimpse of Jetfire, in a far cry from his cartoon origin. He's seen here as another creation of Shockwave, as he lays out his intent to make use of Optimus once again, who quickly realises he's going to outlive his usefulness. But on a more positive note, Buster has brought his father back from the hospital after what can only be described as a heated exchange with Jazz, with Sparkplug reluctant to rest and get straight back into it, and another great page bringing everyone back up to speed as Buster discloses that not only has he cleared the workshop's backlog, but has done so using his mysterious new powers that are courtesy of the Matrix, albeit he doesn't know what we, the readers, do. Now, one thing I loved that the original comics did on more than one occasion was introduce human characters to drive the story, especially when the regular cast wouldn't have made sense. And in this issue, we get Trucker Bomber Bill, and there's a great deep cut opportunity on that panel to get another repaint from the Optimus Prime mould and his distinctive lorry and trailer. But the merchandising options don't last for long, as the truck stop is attacked by none other than the Constructicons, who strip both the parked up lorries and the diner itself for raw materials, very much giving the Junkions themselves a run for their money. Not to be deterred from making his journey home, though, Bomber Bill makes his way to the highway to scout a route for the Decepticons when he encounters a set of headlights and, clearly not remembering his Green Cross code, launches himself in front of none other than Huffer and attempts a carjacking in the interest of getting his truck back. As the Constructicons, led by Soundwave, reveal their mission, which is to take command of the Space Radio Telescope using the stolen raw materials, and in the last panel we get to see that iconic Marvel Comics purple Soundwave. A flip of the page shows the Constructicons hard at work and Bumblebee rejoining his colleagues as Bomber Bill looks on in awe as it dawns on the Autobots that Soundwave has plugged him into the radio telescope in a bid to use it. Just as Huffer realizes that this is what he was working on earlier in the issue, the Autobots are spotted, and anyone who's paying attention to the cover art knows exactly what's coming next following Soundwave's command, as we see a combiner in play for the first time in the comic books, as they merge to form none other than Devastator, who has no issues keeping the Autobots at bay, with the exception of poor Huffer, who's having a crisis of confidence around destroying the device he so desperately wants to make use of. But leaning into that generally slow and lumbering archetype the combiners are often portrayed as, Devastator can't prioritise which Autobot to target next, and an oddly Constructicon decoed Ironhide spurs Huffer on, who is still faltering over the best course of action as the device bursts into life, emitting signals up and into the atmosphere. But as Huffer realises the stakes at play, Devastator has a moment of clarity, giving the Minibot a resounding left hook, or a left bone crusher if you wanted to get technical. But it's Bomber Bill who proves to be the hero of the day, racing towards Soundwave, only to inadvertently free the Decepticon communicator, who wastes no time in deflecting the truck, only for a quickly recovered Huffer to come to Bill's aid, knocking Soundwave away, who reveals that the majority of his message was transmitted, and he considers the Decepticons' mission to be a resounding success. As the Constructicons split apart into their individual forms, and they all leave the scene and head back towards the captured aerospace facility. Huffer apologises to his teammates for putting his personal feelings ahead of the bigger picture, but more importantly, Shockwave has realised that there is an issue with Optimus Prime being able to infuse the newly forged Jetfire with life, and it doesn't take him long to conclude that the problem would appear to lie with Prime and not in his own engineering, as the Autobots listen on in horror, courtesy of the link provided to them by BlackRock. And that, folks, is a lightning quick run-through retrospective of issue 10 of Marvel Comics Transformers, which of course wouldn't be complete without checking out the covers too, whilst the UK split the story across 2 issues, part 1 featuring this original Shockwave cover by Will Simpson, and part 2 reusing the US art, but with a very, very different shade of green for Devastator. And speaking of the UK book, with it being split across 2 issues, page orders were changed for the UK printing to provide a more effective cliffhanger-styled ending for issue number 35 of the UK title. US page 11, ending on Bomber Bill showing Ethel photos of his kids, was printed before pages 9 and 10, using Buster making use of his powers as the midway point before we fall into issue number 36 and the continuation of the story. So, where did you first encounter Devastator? Here or in the G1 episode Heavy Metal War? Let me know in the comments. So, thanks for watching along to the end. Please consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. And if you didn't like it, leave one anyway. If you want to say hi on social media, you can find me here. But whatever you do, stay safe.